My handbag, containing my passport, had vanished without a trace. In a panic, I searched everywhere, but it was gone. As I searched, I could feel my mother-in-law Susan's critical gaze. Her expression was one of disdain, her smile dripping with sarcasm. "You brought this on yourself," she sneered, her voice laced with mockery. "A careless wife like you deserves this. We're heading to the USA soon, so consider this your goodbye." Her laughter echoed in the room, mocking my distress. It was in that moment that the harsh reality hit me. I had made a grave mistake in trusting Susan with my belongings. Her betrayal left me feeling utterly powerless. My name is Deborah. I'm 31 years old, and I've been married to Gabriel for 2 years. We haven't started a family yet, but we've built a comfortable life in a town near Gabriel's parents. Despite being married, I continue to juggle my career and household responsibilities, trying to maintain a balance with dedication. It's been 6 years since my father-in-law passed away, leaving Susan on her own. She often visits us, constantly criticizing my housekeeping skills, which has become a source of ongoing stress. "Why don't you quit your job? As a working wife, your job isn't that important anyway. You can't manage both, and your housekeeping is mediocre at best." "Gabriel deserves better," she'd remark, inspecting the floors for dust and sighing dramatically. "Look at this dust. It's appalling. I'll admit that I'm not perfect when it comes to housework, but being chastised for not dusting felt unfair. I cleaned diligently every morning before work and kept the household running smoothly." Nevertheless, Susan seemed to take pleasure in belittling me, perhaps as her way of coping with stress. Every day felt like an uphill battle. Then, unexpectedly, Susan suggested a family trip. She invited us, along with Gabriel's sister Laurie's family. Laurie, my sister-in-law, is as kind as Gabriel, and we often enjoy spending time together. The thought of traveling with Susan, however, filled me with unease. I had shared my frustrations about her hurtful comments with Gabriel, and when I expressed my concerns about the trip, he offered a more hopeful perspective. "Mom wants to join us. Maybe she's trying to make positive memories with you. This could be a chance to bridge the gap and build a better relationship," he said with an encouraging smile. "You're right. It's our first trip together. Maybe we'll create wonderful memories and break down some barriers," I agreed, buoyed by Gabriel's optimism. Susan took charge of all the planning, from selecting the destination to organizing the itinerary, leaving us to adjust our schedules to fit hers. "I wonder where Mom has in mind." "Hopefully it's not too expensive," Gabriel mentioned casually. "She mentioned New Zealand in her email," I sighed, my fears confirmed. Susan had picked an extravagant international destination without considering our finances. "Well, we can't change it now. Mom chose it, so let's go along with her," Gabriel reasoned. Understanding his point, I made arrangements to finance the trip from our savings. Gabriel, Laurie's husband, and I coordinated our vacations, and soon we were set to depart. We arrived in New Zealand as planned, and the days flew by as we immersed ourselves in the stunning landscapes and delicious food. Before we knew it, it was time to return home. It was such an amazing trip. I even got a nice tan," Susan exclaimed, still bubbling with enthusiasm even at the airport. "Yes, it was really fantastic," I replied, trying to match her excitement. But beneath my smile, a sense of disappointment lingered. "What's wrong? You seem a bit down," Gabriel asked, noticing my mood. "It's not a big deal," I started, preparing to share my mixed feelings about the trip. "It was a great time, but I couldn't help feeling that I didn't connect with your mom the way I hoped. We barely had any private moments to talk." He placed a comforting hand on my shoulder and smiled. "Don't worry too much. We all had a great time, and that's what matters." His reassurance helped, but a part of me wondered if I was overthinking it. As we moved through the crowded airport, Susan suddenly announced, "It's pretty busy here. I need to use the restroom before we board." She turned to me and added, "Deborah, could you hold my bags for me?" "Everyone, leave your bags with her and let's go together." She handed me her heavy luggage and quickly joined the others heading to the restroom. "I actually need to use the restroom too," Laurie said, noticing I was overwhelmed. I'll take over when I get back. Just wait here for me. Not long after they left, Susan returned alone. That was fast, I remarked, surprised. It was empty, she replied, looking around. Now, where did you put my bags? They're right over there, I pointed to her luggage by my feet. Why is my expensive bag on the floor? She demanded. I gave it to you so it wouldn't get set down. How could you be so careless? She picked it up, clutching it protectively. Meanwhile, I was still holding everyone else's bags, struggling to manage. Susan's tone was sharp and dismissive. Enough, you're so thoughtless. Go to the restroom. I'll graciously keep an eye on your bags. Just leave them on the floor. Your cheap bag will be fine, she said, her voice dripping with condescension. Thanks, I'll be quick, I replied, placing my bag on the ground and hurrying toward the restroom, only to find a long line waiting. When I finally entered, Lori came out soon after. What about the bags, Deborah? She asked anxiously. I left them with Gabriel's mom so I could use the restroom, but it's really crowded in there. It might take a while, I explained, feeling uneasy despite Susan's earlier assurance that the restroom was empty. After what felt like an eternity, I finally returned. Lori was waiting for me, not wanting to risk getting lost, as she often struggled with directions. Together, we made our way back to where we had left Susan, but she was standing alone, and the men were nowhere to be seen. Thanks for watching the bags, I said, scanning the area, but my heart sank when I saw that my bag was missing. I'm sure I left it right here, I murmured, checking all the bags. Mine was the only one gone. My bags are gone. You were here the whole time, right? I asked Susan, my voice trembling with panic. Your bag? I don't know. Maybe it was never here, Susan replied coldly, sending a wave of despair through me. No, I know I left it here, right in front of you, I insisted, feeling a surge of betrayal. I didn't see anything, don't blame me, Susan retorted dismissively. I placed it there because you asked me to. What should I do now? My passport was in that bag, I cried out, frantic, my mind racing with what to do. Susan sneered at me, her smile dripping with sarcasm. Maybe this is karma for how you treated my bag, tossing it on the floor. A lousy wife like you deserves to suffer the consequences and stay behind in the USA. I don't have time for this. You're on your own, or I'll leave without you, she declared coldly, laughing mockingly. But this wasn't just my problem. My bag held everyone's passports. Without it, none of us could return to the USA. Susan's expression froze as she realized the severity of the situation. What? Why do you have everyone's passports? She grabbed my arm, her voice rising with alarm. Lori, who had been listening intently, intervened. We were worried about losing them with all the luggage, so Gabriel took charge of them. You might have forgotten, Mom, Lori explained gently. Susan's reaction was sharp. Is that so? I must have been distracted, she said, her tone shifting as the gravity of the situation hit her. But why were the passports with you and not with Gabriel? That's strange, Susan said, suspicion creeping into her voice. Gabriel had too much to carry, so I've been holding on to them since we left the hotel, I explained, trying to keep things calm. Susan's frustration was palpable as she exclaimed, why didn't you mention something so important? I would have kept a closer eye on your bag if I'd known. I found it hard to believe her sudden concern. What do you mean you took your eyes off my bag, even though you didn't know about the passports? I asked, my voice rising. Was my bag stolen? I looked at Lori, who seemed pale with alarm. Mom, please explain, was Deborah's bag stolen? I have no idea if it was stolen. It was just gone when I noticed, Susan said coldly, crossing her arms defensively. Her lack of apology stung. I can't believe this. How irresponsible, I muttered, frustration bubbling over. At that moment, Gabriel and the others returned, noticing our tense expressions. What's going on? Is everything all right? Gabriel asked, concern evident in his voice. I quickly explained the situation, and Gabriel let out a heavy sigh. He shot a disappointed glance at Susan. This is serious. We need to find that bag, now. I nodded in agreement with him. I left it right here. Susan, you told me specifically to put it here. I pointed to the corner where all the bags had been placed. It only took us about 12 minutes to come back. It must have been taken during that brief time. Susan, where were you? I asked, noticing her arms still crossed in a defensive stance. I was right here, watching the bags, Susan replied firmly. I wouldn't have left them, especially with everyone's important belongings, but your bag was on the edge, out of my direct line of sight. I'm only human, you know, I can't be perfect, she added, turning away. Let's just file a theft report and check the security cameras. The thief could still be nearby. We need to act fast, Gabriel suggested, moving toward the airport staff, but Susan grabbed his arm, stopping him. Hold on, filing a police report seems extreme. It would be quicker to get the passports reissued, she countered. Gabriel shrugged off her grip, his resolve clear. No, we need to take every precaution. We can't waste any more time. Let's file the report first, and then we can reissue the passports at the embassy. Reviewing the security footage could help us recover the missing bag, he insisted. Lori nodded, agreeing with Gabriel. Absolutely, Gabriel, we need to act fast. Susan responded defensively, claiming it was all her fault and that she could find the thief on her own. She argued that involving the police was unnecessary, her temper flaring as she spoke. Lori quickly intervened, defending me. That's not fair, Mom. Deborah didn't cause this. You were supposed to watch the bags, not her, Lori said firmly. Gabriel, too, supported me, placing a comforting hand on my shoulder. Deborah is already taking responsibility. Mom, why are you resisting the theft report? Susan looked uneasy, shifting her stance. I've never had to deal with the police. I'm just nervous. I think we should try to handle this ourselves, she explained. Fine, I'll help look too. Let's split up and see if we can find anything on our own, Susan suggested, trying to shift the focus back to locating the bag. At that moment, a young man approached, calling out to Susan. There you are. I've been looking for you, he said, handing over a bag. I found this and thought you might be in trouble for leaving it behind. I'm so glad I found you. Your trip could have been ruined. I was stunned as I took the bag from him. Where did you find it? I asked. In the lounge, on a table. I tried to catch your attention, but you didn't hear me, and you walked off into the crowd. I've been looking for you ever since, he explained. We thanked him profusely before turning to Susan, who looked visibly shaken. Mom, what's going on? Why was Deborah's bag left in the lounge? Gabriel asked, frustration evident in his voice. No need for explanations, Mom. You left Deborah's bag there on purpose, didn't you? And you haven't been watching any of our luggage, have you? I asked, the realization of her actions sinking in. Lori, her eyes filled with disdain, spoke up. It's unbelievable that you would treat Deborah like this, deliberately leaving her bag in a distant lounge where it wouldn't be caught on camera. You knew the cameras would reveal what happened. I quickly checked the bag's contents. Everything was there, passports, wallets, mobile phones, safe and sound. We were incredibly fortunate that someone had found it, but relief didn't stop the anger that simmered inside me. I confronted Susan directly. How could you do this, Susan? Why would you behave like this? I demanded, my voice shaking with frustration. Susan's response was unapologetic. I tossed my precious bag on the floor, and I was upset. I'm not the villain here. Who would have known that this shabby bag held everyone's passports? It was just a moment of frustration in the lounge. I didn't leave your luggage unattended. Don't misinterpret my actions, she defended herself. Enough, Gabriel snapped, his voice cutting through the tension. Susan, think about how you've treated Deborah since we got married. I kept hoping you'd change, but I was wrong. I've failed to understand the pain you've caused her. I'm sorry, Deborah, he said, his words sincere, and they brought tears to my eyes. Gabriel turned to Susan with steely resolve. Mom, mishandling someone else's property like this is essentially theft, whether you realize it or not. The security footage will show exactly what happened. Susan was taken aback by his words. Wait, Gabriel, you're not seriously considering involving the police, are you? We're family, and Deborah is your wife. Surely, there's no crime in a mother taking her daughter-in-law's bag, she pleaded, desperation creeping into her voice. Gabriel's face hardened. That's absurd, Mom. Your first step should be apologizing to Deborah, not trying to avoid responsibility by using our family bond as an excuse. It's embarrassing. We won't report this to the police, but you've shown us that we need serious changes in how we handle our family dynamics. Gabriel took my hand, signaling his unwavering support. We're cutting ties with you. Don't show your face to Deborah or me again. We'll be taking a different flight home. Please, Gabriel, wait, this is too sudden. I can't accept this. Give me a chance to apologize. I'll make it right, Susan cried out, desperately trying to stop him, even clinging to his feet in a last-ditch effort. Gabriel, this is disgraceful. Please stop, Lori cried, her voice cracking as she pulled Susan away, her face streaked with tears. Lori and her husband escorted Susan away, leaving Gabriel and me alone. Are you sure about this, Gabriel? Cutting ties with your mom? I asked, my voice soft with concern. It's necessary. You're the most important person in my life. I should have protected you better, he replied, pulling me into an embrace. We managed to book a different flight and return to our lives without Susan's shadow hanging over us. Lori, too, chose to distance herself from her mother, and we moved far away from Gabriel's family home, severing all ties with Susan. It seemed that Lori had also made the same choice. 8 months later, I discovered I was pregnant. Susan would never meet this child. In our peaceful new town, free from her influence, we looked forward to the future. My only wish now is for Gabriel, our baby, and me to live happily together, far away from the turmoil of the past.